It seems to me this morning on talkSPORT we've got a takeover here that unusually is being lauded by people far and wide. Todd Boehly is in there. He's now officially the new owner of Chelsea Football Club. And we've known it for days on end, but it's now actually happened. It's completed after 2.5 months after Abramovich was sanctioned by the UK government. So when we break it all down, there were 250 plus inquiries from proposed purchasers. There were 12 credible bids. There were then 4, and then there were 3 final bidders. And he's come right through the pack. 32 confidentiality agreements for due diligence, Simon. So at the end of the day, people are saying, well done, Chelsea, for the way you've handled this. The DCMS, HM Treasury, UEFA, the FA, the Premier League, the Rain Group, Northbridge Law, whoever they are, Ernst & Young. It goes on and on and on. This seems to be a takeover that, as I say, is being saluted and applauded by many in a whole range of different organisations. Okay. So should we take from this is the real deal, and Boehly himself is the real deal, and no one should ever have doubted it?
I still don't know why he's bought it, and I still don't know who else's money he's used, and I still don't know what their return on investment they expect. But with all those in mind, to have gone through the gears with the backdrop of people saying that they're not going to be able to achieve this, they're not going to be able to achieve that, they haven't done it by the 31st of May, there's going to be this, they can't have that, they can't have the other, they're going to go bust. None of that happening. None of those issues. I am still staggered that the level of finance involved has got to that level, but it is what it is.
You don't say it's 4 billion plus, do you?
Because it's not. You can't turn around and say what you're going to spend on something is based upon what you buy the football club for.
So what is it? What did they buy it for?
They bought it for 2.5 billion. They're going to spend money on it because
still a lot of dough, isn't it?
But they're going to spend money on it. So if they spend £1 billion on rebuilding the stadium and they go and get that financed from somewhere because they're going to build a better stadium that's going to generate more revenue, then that's not quite the same as spending £1 billion of your own money. Because Abramovich, by the way, wasn't going to build a stadium with his own money. He was going to gear it. He was going to build a stadium and borrow the money to do it. And with that in mind, these guys will probably do the same. If you're going to spend 1.75 billion over 10 years, well, that's roughly in keeping with what Chelsea have done over the last 10 years, £150 million a year on transfer spend, give or take. So there's nothing new here. There's nothing new about Chelsea spending this kind of money to keep themselves at the top of the Premier League. There's nothing revolutionary about this. The only thing that's changed is Roman Abramovich has fallen foul of the fact his relationship with Putin has made him a sanctioned object. And he's taken the position of sanctions, let the football club go with all the money going to proceeds, and you have new ownership. All right. That's it.
So the music was playing.
I don't know why they all pat themselves on the back. It was pretty easy to do.
The music was playing. Roman got up from his seat in the box that overlooks Stamford Bridge.
And handed it to someone else.
And the seat was taken by Todd Boehly. So a Russian goes and an American arrives. Abramovich is saying what we probably would have predicted he was saying.
Yes.
That he would say. He says, my goal has been to ensure that the next owner has a mindset that will enable success for the men's and women's team, as well as the will to drive to continue developing other key aspects of the club. On and on it goes.
I'm sure you wrote every word of it.
Yeah. He then says, I'm proud that as a result of our joint success, millions of people will now benefit from the new charitable foundation which is being established. This is a legacy which we have created together. Thank you. And off he goes.
Yes.
So that's it. That's the end of Abramovich. Will we see him again? Probably not.
Probably not. You can turn around and say that his benefit, he has a robber baron that's been able to benefit huge amounts of money from the Putin regime, has handed back some money to those that are being affected by the Putin regime.
In the circumstances, the bold Roman was sanctioned, and everything changed after that.
It did.
Should everything Abramovich oversaw at Chelsea be forever tainted?
Depends how much of a hypocrite you want to be. Because Roman Abramovich's links to Putin are well known. When people were allegedly being killed by Russian forces in this country, did people suddenly turn around and say, hang on a second, but what Roman Abramovich's association with Vladimir Putin? You can't sit there and be a hypocrite. Every person that's not Chelsea, any Chelsea fans, we as the media have an objective view on what we should be commenting on. The Chelsea fans can't have the audacity. If any Chelsea fans poke their head above the parapet and start turning back about, we should say everything's tainted, well, you should have been saying that a long time ago about the situation. You go forward and you look at it and say, he did what he was forced to do. He did not hand this football club over because he wanted to. He didn't give away the proceeds because he wanted to. He did it because he was being sanctioned, and initially I would perceive that he thought this was going to help him avoid other sanctions. And then he got himself caught in a cleft position and realised that this, as a heritage chip, a piece of British iconic imagery and livery and heritage, wasn't going to be just allowed to transfer money to where he wanted to transfer it to, irrespective of whether it actually ever landed in Vladimir Putin's regime. He was going to reap the whirlwind of the associations that he had. So it's not appropriate to sit here and say either judge the Premier League inappropriately for saying, why didn't you stop this in 2003? Because nobody knew in 2003 what a foreign owner really looked like. So you can't blame the Premier League for it. And you also can't enact any hypocrisy about, well, what does it look like going backwards? Do we think everything he's done is tainted? Well, it should be tainted because he, in part, helped destroy the fabric of English football and make it all about money and make the growth of football in this country not organic and not about TV revenues and what football can achieve, about people coming into our sport and firing cannons of cash into it and making it more about money than football ever should have been. So that's the legacy that we should be saying. Now, let's have a look at that rather than his association with the Russian regime.
But not for anybody inside Chelsea. It didn't destroy it for them.
No,
they benefited.
No, of course not.
Huge.
But Chelsea is one football club in this country, and everyone else has had some advantage and disadvantage by this revolution that he brought about.
So here's one for you, and I noticed you used the words "we" in the media and included yourself in that, no doubt.
Well, for this moment in time, when I'm making this particular point, then I'll distance myself very quickly.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so you're wearing your media hat at the moment. You're welcome to the club. Should we in the media and Chelsea fans in general be lauding and applauding Roman Abramovich for his ownership?
Well, I just didn't.
But for what he has done and what he has achieved
for Chelsea Football Club. Well, the media's not a cheerleader, is it?
One of the proudest English football clubs that we have, and Chelsea are with a great history.
Well, yeah.
Should he be applauded?
And where were they in the mid-80s? Right. So let's have a look at what Chelsea are as a football club. I'm a Londoner. I admire Chelsea. I like Chelsea as a football club, and I've watched their journey. But I'm not a cheerleader for Roman Abramovich's Chelsea. Roman Abramovich's Chelsea laid down a marker of how football has changed to some extent for the worse. It's become so economically driven that we have to have stupid, ridiculous, circular conversations with people like Martin Keown about player welfare because there's so many games being played because they need to generate more revenue to pay the players that the gravy train that people like Roman Abramovich started.
So on James, the Chelsea fans' point, as we go up to the news at 11, you'll find most of us would be very happy to have a statue of Abramovich erected outside Stamford Bridge.
Hypocrites. How can you have a man sanctioned to this point where he has to leave the country and has to give up his football club, and you moron, want to put a statue outside Chelsea? I mean, I'm sorry, you've got to call somebody stupid when they're being stupid. That's just stupid. How can you put a statue of a man that's been sanctioned outside a football club because he did something for you?
But he's not saying that. He's trying to salute a former owner of his football club.
But he's
not a moron for that.
Because it's stupid. I mean, how stupid have you got to be? We're telling people they can't play in Wimbledon and tennis tournaments. We're telling athletes they can't compete. We're telling football teams they can't play in Europe. But a fella that's been sanctioned because he's inextricably indexed should have a statue outside Chelsea football ground. Go wobble your head. I mean, really.
James, bad idea.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.